Thomas Paine, Thomas Paine, Thomas Paine, Sam Adams, Sam Adams, Sam Adams, Benjamin Franklin, Benjamin Franklin, Benjamin Franklin. These men spoke up for what they thought was right. From their courage came such documents as the Declaration of Independence and the Constitution of the United States. From their willingness to speak what was sometimes unpopular but right, we enjoy such liberties as freedom of speech, the right to keep and bear arms, and freedom of religion. There are those who still wish to oppress our freedoms, and there are still patriots willing to stand up and defend life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. Men like Zeb Bell, who honor our founding fathers and what they stood for. It's now time for Zeb at the ranch, speaking up and defending your freedoms. Brought to you by Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers and all of the other great advertisers on the program. And now, Zeb Bell.
A bad attitude is like a flat tire. You can't go anywhere unless you change it. May success be yours. Forgive quickly, speak kindly and truthfully, love truly, laugh uncontrollably, and never regret anything that made you smile. And leave the rest to God. Good morning. It's good to be back. Here comes Kate Smith and God Bless America, followed by a patriot to call in with our Pledge of Allegiance. Good morning. Oh, my. And I'll probably have to remember how to do certain things, switches to flip, and other various and sundry items. Good morning, Zeb at the Ranch, and it's so good to be back. And, of course, brought to you by our major sponsor, your Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers, all 7 locations serving you. And, of course, Burley Physical Therapy and Rehabilitation at 1263 Bennett Avenue, Suite 2 in Burley. And Greystone Crossing Senior Living at 1221 21st Street in Heyburn. Seniors living the good life with friends. Right now, let's go to the phone line and have our Pledge of Allegiance. Good morning.
Well, good morning again to you, sir.
Yes.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Hey, Wheels, could you bump up the feed line to me just a touch, old buddy, old pal? I'd appreciate that. And right now, let's go to the weather forecast. And the weather brought to you by K&R Rental at 256 South, 600 West of Heyburn. Hello, Roger and the crew. They've got everything for you. You know, looking forward to spring a little bit. You know, here we are, almost March around the corner. And they've got all the rental tools and equipment you need to get ready for spring. So give them a call. You're not sure what you need? Talk to them. 678-3122 K&R Rental. And right now, here's the weather.
Warming up as we make our way through the work week. Here's a look at your weather forecast. Sunny skies today, a little bit of a breeze out of the west at about 5 miles an hour. We are expecting a high of 40 tonight, mostly clear, cooling down to about 21. Tomorrow, lots of sunshine, high of 46 with an overnight low of 24. By Thursday, sunny and 51, mid-50s for Friday and for Saturday. That's a look at your weather forecast for Zeb at the Ranch.
Wow, wow, wow. I tell you what, I'll take it. It's really a treat. Great weather on the horizon for the next couple of days, and of course brought to you by K&R Rental, and it's currently 21 degrees outside. K&R Rental at 256 South, 600 West of Heyburn, right there, smack dab on the Burley-Paul Highway. They're ready and waiting to serve you for both long and short-term rental on the best of tools and equipment. Give them a call at 678-3122. Wow, I got a lot of things to talk about here this morning, and first and foremost, I want to remind everybody, too, about Daryl's Cleaners at 1223 Albion Avenue in Burley. Hello, Kevin and Cindy and the whole crew, and they'll do the best in your dry cleaning needs for all of your clothes and take care of your curtains. And by the way, if you don't have time to do your own washing, take it into Daryl's. They'll wash, dry, fold, and iron all your clothes right there at the very best. And boy, have I got a bunch of clothes for them. Daryl's Cleaners, 1223 Albion Avenue in Burley. Caller, good morning. You're on the air.
Good morning. Welcome back.
Thank you.
But we got along. The Burley Senior Center today, we're having old-time goulash and salad and rolls and cook's choice on dessert.
Now, let me ask you a question. Let me ask you a quick question, Joe. Goulash. Where do you think they came up with the name goulash?
Oh, well, that was before my time, so I can't remember.
Okay.
It'll be good.
All right. Goulash good. You betcha. Thank you, Joe, over at the Senior Center on Overland. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
All right. Hey, by the way, being gone as I have been, and I got some thank yous I want to take care of, but just a minute, I want to mention all the birthdays and the anniversaries that we did not get mentioned on the air for the month of February. And February 2nd, Bruce and Janelle Ford celebrated an anniversary. On the 3rd, Donna Perkins celebrated a birthday. On the 10th, Mary Johnson celebrated a birthday. On February 12th, some wonderful people, Paul and Ellen Peterson, had their anniversary. Paul's a great artist. And on February 23rd, Sam and Donna Perkins' anniversary. And yesterday, Eddie Donagle had a birthday. Happy birthday, Eddie. And let's see, tomorrow, no, that's going to be on Thursday, Lorna Arbogast is going to celebrate a birthday. And then on the 29th, Crystal Martin will have her birthday. I want to get those all mentioned and say the very best of happy anniversary and happy birthday. Calls are welcome and appreciated. Yeah, buddy, please. After being gone 3 weeks, it's good to be back on the program. Many thanks, and I mean this, go to Sharon and Gina for doing a great job handling the program while I was gone. Yes, a great job. And thanks to all my advertisers for understanding my absence, and thanks to you, the listeners. I really enjoyed doing this program and will continue to be bluntly honest, in my opinion, of issues that affect all of us as we move closer to November and going to the voting booths, okay? Remember that. We got a lot of stories to talk about this morning, but your calls are very important to me, so give us a jingle at 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. I was afraid I wouldn't remember the numbers this morning. Too much time away. Hey, don't forget Ramsey Heating and Electric at 2600 Overland Avenue in Burley, and a telephone number to call, 678-0459. They literally have all your heating, cooling, and electrical needs right there at Ramsey Heating and Electric. They throw open the doors at 7:30 in the morning till 5 Monday through Friday. And number to call, 678-0459. Nice people, serving you for over almost now 7 decades at Ramsey Heating and Electric in Burley. All right, your turn. Give us a jingle on the landline, 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. I could not believe this. You wonder at times, and lately it's been most of the time, how low the left can go. These demonic absolute loons. Now at a Trump rally recently, there were members of the Miracle on Ice. I don't know if you heard about this story or not, but remember the Miracle on Ice back in 1980 at the Olympics, the Winter Olympics, when our hockey team, hold on, caller, I'll be right there. Our hockey team came from obscurity and defeated the Russians to take the gold medal. Well, members of the Miracle on Ice were at a Trump rally, and they were wearing MAGA hats, and the left is burning their hair. They are on fire. They are incensed. They're calling these skaters that played for the U.S. hockey team all kinds of names. They're demonizing them. What is going on? 40 years ago, they defeated Russia. And they should always be praised, but not now, because many of which are supporting our President Donald Trump. Caller, good morning. You're on the air.
I was going to call and tell you that I think the reason some of these people cannot get along in this world is because they are trained to not get along. And that's just how it is, and they're going to be that way. and I don't know how we're going to cure it. But I think that we need to just stay above the mess and keep on doing the right thing, and eventually somebody may wake up.
You know, I, over the last 3 weeks, had a chance to go to various events. I had a chance to go to various dinners, etc. And I got to tell you something, Chris, and I mean this, and I'm being perfectly honest. Deanne can solidify my statement. We never ran into one circumstance or one person that absolutely didn't stand up and say they certainly hope and pray that Donald Trump gets reelected. I never ran into any left-wing loons.
Well, I think they're hiding. So maybe they'll just get to come out of hiding.
I hope so.
I doubt it.
You know,
anyway, what we do as people, those of us who really are sure of what we think and believe in and what have you, we just cannot weaken.
That's right.
We don't have to get in a fist fight.
That's right.
But we can't let them run over us.
No, I totally agree with your statement, and that's the way it's going to be on this program. There is a right and wrong, a black and white on every issue. I will not weaken. I will not bend. I will not cause a gray area in the middle. It's going to be either right or wrong. Chris, God bless you for calling in. It's good to hear from you again.
Good morning. Yeah.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
All right, take care. Caller, I'll be right there. Stand by, please. I want to remind everybody about Denny's Restaurant. Oh, yeah. Denny's Restaurant at 611 North Overland in Burley, America's Diner. And they also have another location at 291 Pole Line Road in Twin Falls. I mean breakfast. I mean lunch, dinner, anytime, all the time, all the delicious desserts, great service. Woo! And we're going to be there this Thursday. I said it 3 times. Everybody please be there at Zeb's Lunch Bunch at 11:30 at Denny's Restaurant in Burley. And we're going to have a ripping good time. Please come out and support Zeb's Lunch Bunch this Thursday at Denny's Restaurant. Caller, good morning. You're on the air.
Yes, good morning, Zeb and Deanne. Welcome back.
Thank you. Thank you.
Well, there's a lot of people can't get over the fact that Donald Trump came along and put this country back in a winner's circle again. And there's a lot of people out there with wish him bad, but the majority of people that are in this country are glad he has come back and basically is under the movement of saving the entire planet.
You know, Tony, some of the people I talked to while I was gone, lawyers, doctors, agribusiness people, many from all various walks of life, and some were very adamant that the position we're in this country right now, that we would even think about not electing Donald Trump for another term and possibly putting in an avowed socialist and communist like Bernie Sanders. The world is tipped upside down, and America better really start waking up and understanding what we're going to lose.
Well, this planet is about ready to explode as far as population-wide goes, and we are not careful. We are going to run out of food and water. There's going to be excess taxes, and we're going to have crime. I can see what's going on in Twin Falls right now. I remember some of the stuff I left back in New York.
Yeah, it's unfortunate that what happens in the bigger cities is now becoming indoctrinated and pushed in some of the smaller communities, if you will, and some of the lesser populated states. And I think we better have a real eye-opening experience in this country and stand up for what this country used to stand for.
Well, we've got the man behind us, so we've got a lot of power now. And thank God that the Democratic Party is down on its knees now.
Yeah, I agree with you. It's so good to hear from you, and I certainly hope you and Mary are doing well. Thank you so much.
Okay, thank you, Zeb.
God bless you, man. Nice people right there. Calls are welcome and appreciated. What did you think about, I love that movie, The Miracle. the miracle. It was all about the hockey team with, quite frankly, a bunch of misfits that were welded and melded together, if you will, by Herb Brooks, the coach, and he was kind of a misfit himself, but oh my goodness, did they come on and defeated Russia for the gold medal and the winning of the 1980 Olympics. And most all of them, most all of the team members, hold on just a second, excuse me, most all of the team members went on to be highly paid and respected individuals and professionals in their business. And to think that they went to a Trump rally here just recently wearing their MAGA hats, and the left, including all the members of CNN and MSNBC and others, oh, why, that was terrible. And now these heroes are being denigrated. Your thoughts. Give me a call, 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. But don't forget our friends at Dino Septic Service. I mean, they do the job that you don't want to do. Septic tank pumping, septic tank and drain fields installed, backhoe services, water and sewer lines installed, and, of course, sewer and sink drain lines cleaned. Oh, yes, they do. And all you got to do is pick up the phone and give them a call. Tell them where you live. They'll be there. Fast, fair, friendly service to you. Call 436-6526 or 678-1638. They'll pull in the yard with that big truck that says, smells cargo on the way. Dino's Septic Service. You get a hold of those really good folks right now this morning, okay? What's going on in other news? Now, this is a story that we're going to be talking about again at 9:06 with a doctor. Dr. Roger Klein is going to be on the program, and we're going to be talking about the coronavirus. Now, this thing, this disease, this virus getting out of hand, and the effect of the virus is more dangerous to many issues than expected. Now, I'm not just talking about the contagious effect of the virus on people, but also the effect that it's having on everyday life. Stock markets, trade, also tourism, all of this is really at a standstill. And we're absolutely seeing more of a spread of the coronavirus to other countries that have started now reporting heavy amounts of numbers of cases in South Korea, Iran, and now Italy. And I was reading a newspaper story and watching it on the news this morning. Italy is virtually closed up. No business openings and no churches, no schools. And our Dow Jones is down over 1,000 points. Now, this coronavirus, according to many people that are really up on economics, say that it could, we're not at that level yet, but it could cause a global recession. So there are a lot of things to worry about. A lot of things to worry about. And I said a long time ago, before I even left to go on my little hiatus, that what happens if this was an oops? That this virus was actually something that had escaped and or had been mishandled by a laboratory. Well, now others are coming out and saying the same thing. That maybe the coronavirus was caused by a lab accident or an oversight in China with the possibilities and capabilities of being biowarfare. What are your thoughts on it? Give me a call. Right now in the United States, when you look at the map of the world and you see the spread in the red numbers all across various countries, here in this country, there are 53 known cases of coronavirus. Now, there has not been, according to this morning, early at 4 o'clock, anybody that has passed away, any deaths connected to coronavirus, but 53 known cases. And what are your thoughts on this? Are you afraid? Are you worried? Are you basically thinking that it's not that big a deal? I will say that the flu has caused, and usually does cause, more deaths and more worry than certain viruses, and such is the case this year. However, the coronavirus is getting all the ink. What are your thoughts? Give me a call, 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. Our friends at Berry Equipment and Rental Sales, Service, and Parts at 159 West Highway 30 in Burley. They are there to serve you. Also at 465 Addison Avenue West in Twin and the Nampa location. You know they've got all the equipment. They've got all the Bobcats and all the shapes and sizes. They've got all the Doosan wheel loaders and the excavators. They got it all at very, very low rate financing and excellent rentals. You check it out today at Berry Equipment and Rental. Burley, Twin Falls, and Nampa, they're waiting right now this minute to serve you. Caller, good morning. You're on the air.
Yes, Donald Trump is putting $2.8 billion into taking care of this virus. Chuck Schumer is complaining about it.
Well, Chuck Schumer is playing politics.
Taken care of over here. I'm not worried about it because we know that Donald Trump, he's in the driver's seat. He's going to get this thing done.
Yeah. Schumer and many other Democrats are playing politics with a very serious situation. I applaud the president for allocating $2.8 billion for a hurry-up, rush job, if you will, scientifically with our scientists, to come up with an antidote and or vaccine. And for anybody to criticize that or to belittle that has to be bordering on idiocy.
We'll get it done before anything happens.
Well, I certainly hope that it doesn't get any worse in this country. I certainly hope that it starts to recede in other countries. But I'm not very optimistic. I think we haven't seen the worst of this.
Well, China's too busy with bombs and bullets to take care of the health situation in this country. We're different here.
Well, I certainly hope you're right. And again, I applaud the fact that the president trying to stay on top of this, and then, of course, the CDC, Center for Disease Control, and our scientists, everybody working very diligently right now to make sure that it does not have a chance to expand here in the United States. I totally agree with you, Tony. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, sir.
All right, buddy. You know, there's another issue that needs to be talked about, and that's, of course, the coronavirus and people getting sick or more people being affected and infected with that virus. Will this have a push in the political spectacle? Will this possibly, and I was listening to a commentator on this morning at 5:30, and I tend to agree with this person, that the coronavirus could be a push for socialist Bernie Sanders with his one-size-fits-all health care. It's a worry. And what are your thoughts? You know, really, when you think about it, folks, and I talked to, like I said, so many people over the course of the last 3 weeks, and I kept notes on quite a few of the conversations, etc. And to think that here in the United States of America, the greatest country ever in the history of the world, and if somebody takes offense at that, that's your problem, not mine, that with the best Constitution and the greatest people fighting to preserve all the freedoms and the human value that we have in this country, how could we even think for a moment of electing a socialist/communist Bernie Sanders? Caller, good morning. You're on the air.
Good morning. I don't think it's as bad as they're trying to make it sound like it is.
What?
The virus.
Okay. Why do you say that?
Because I think that the news media is trying to use it to scare us, to take down the economy if they can. And it's just a ploy. You know, it's something that they can use And that's what I think's going on.
Well, let me ask you this, and I'm not arguing with you at all. As a matter of fact, I have a tendency to agree with you. Here you have 53 cases of the coronavirus that have been detected and scientists are aware of here in this country. No one yet has died. But yet, in contrast, 30,000 people have already died from the flu this year. So I think I have a tendency to believe you.
Right. And yeah, and I thought, you hit it on the head when you said that earlier. Yeah.
But let me ask you, though, to whose benefit will the virus play into?
Well, it's to the left. Of course.
Okay.
Everything, is to try and take down Trump and weaken the economy and do whatever they can do to make things a mess for the rest of us.
Okay, now I'm going to play a little bit of real far right-wing falling off the tree branch conspiracy theory with you, and you tell me how crazy I am, okay? This is your chance to really throw me into a corner. Are you ready?
Sure.
All right. Supposing this is a laboratory-induced virus that was processed in China and was somehow let go. It was released. Somebody had an oops. And isn't it interesting at this time going into our election cycle for a renewal of President Trump or a replacement of Donald Trump, isn't it interesting that all of this would come up that may have devastating effects on our economy?
Right. No, I agree with you. I don't think you're off base at all. In fact, I can't remember his name, the computer guy, him and his wife.
Gates?
Yeah. Bill Gates is, supposedly involved with this deal, got patent on stuff.
Mm-hmm. I just think that there's some, if you'll pardon the expression, fishiness in the way this is all happening, and God bless the poor souls that have contracted and contacted this virus and family members that have been lost, etc. Because if this was released because of political reasons in a don't let Trump get reelected, and if we cause a world recession and bring the markets down, it'll have a reflection on Trump, and maybe they'll get somebody else. I'm just throwing it out as food for thought, and I think you agree with me.
Well, and here's something else to think about. There's probably already a cure for it. Might cost you a little bit, but, you can go get your shot and probably get cured from it, too. They've probably got that all figured out already. So.
I can't say anything on speculation, but I can say that the flu currently presents a much greater risk to Americans than the coronavirus.
Yeah, amen.
Hey, thank you for your call. Appreciate it. Good man right there. Thank you much. Calls welcome. 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. I wasn't hesitant at all to state my opinion on this. I was talking to a couple of fellas down in Arizona, and we had a long visit about politics and the left and what some may do in a concentrated effort to defeat Trump at any cost. And the last subject was brought into the conversation. Caller, good morning. You're on the air.
Top of the morning to you, sir.
Well, I don't know who this is. My goodness, it's been so long.
Thanks for bringing some nice weather back with you.
Oh, my.
I don't think you're too far off base, because wasn't it last fall the left and mainstream media was praying for a recession?
Mm-hmm. Well, didn't hold on a second, Doug. Let's mention names, and Wheels, we got a little feedback on the line. Wasn't it the lefty that has said some deplorable things on television on HBO, Bill Maher, that said he would pray for anything, whether it hurt mankind or not, to defeat Donald Trump?
Yes. Yes, he did. So I wouldn't put it out of the deal that it was purposely let loose.
Well, when you stop and think about it, look at the effect it's already had on the Dow Jones. And again, Wheels, we still have feedback on the line, please. The Dow Jones down over 1,000 points, and they're anticipating that it could go lower this morning. And it's hurting now all the world markets. It's hurting trade. People are afraid of buying goods and services from various countries and trading back and forth. So what does it do? It creates kind of a world dilemma, but primarily because Trump in this country, the United States, are at the forefront. I look at it as a way to hurt Trump in his reelection and the United States.
Yes. And just think of just what's happened with China. China has lost billions of dollars with this new trade deal because we're not, doing the tariffs. We're not taking our tariffs off.
Yeah.
So it's costing China. So if they can get rid of President Trump and get somebody in there a lot weaker, it's going to help China.
Every country, including us, the United States, has dabbled in, unfortunately, bio-warfare and some of the hideous and heinous goods that come out of that. Now, if this is an oops by China, and it was released accidentally or perhaps on purpose, when you look at a country like China, with the billions of people that live there and the lack of compassion for humanity, they really don't care as long as they get their point across. And that's the point I'm trying to make this morning.
Yes, I agree with you there. I agree with you on that. And they're talking about not having toys for Christmas. They're already putting the scare tactic coming into this fall and election season. They are feeding the narrative that, we can't get in. They're ordering toys now, but the factories are closed down, so we're not going to have toys. That is a great reason to bring all the manufacturing back home and do it here, not depending on foreign countries that are totalitarian regime.
It's the timing, Doug, that bothers me. It's the timing of this coming out and becoming very prominent in the news media, the coronavirus, and it's the timing of how it's going to hurt the world markets. It's the timing of how it's going to hurt trade. It's the timing of going into our November elections, in the election cycle. I just think that there's a lot of things I have questions about.
Yes, I have questions. There's a couple other people I've heard had about the same questions, the same thoughts. So I don't think you're way out of the ballpark. I think you're in the ballpark. But unfortunately, there are ruthless people out there who would rather see the United States fall than President Trump succeed.
Well, we have to be very honest and forthright about the facts. And the facts are that this year, as a matter of fact, we can expect about 40 million people to be infected with the flu here in this country, and there could be as many as 60,000 deaths. But that goes unreported and really unannounced or programmed on any of the major news networks, and they're concentrating on 53 cases, no deaths yet in this country, but look at all the people that die with flu.
Exactly, yeah. I think they're seeing this opportunity to try to take Trump down, and I think you're right on the mainstream media. They don't report on the news. They report on anything they can do to stop President Trump. Like that Jim Acosta this morning.
Oh, boy.
What a stupid question. Will you accept help from a foreign country to win an election?
Yeah. I mean, Jim Acosta and CNN and some of the absolute twits that work for MSNBC and the New York Times, the list goes on and on. They are nothing but hate Trump, hate anything to do with his policies, hate this administration, and by doing so, they've created a hate for this United States of America, and I absolutely despise these people.
Well, I think they are doing Russia's bidding. They are causing the discourse because of their false statements and their false news.
Oh, I totally agree. Totally agree. Totally agree.
So it's not President Trump doing Russia's bidding. It's the mainstream media. And when you've got somebody that lies to you and lies to you and lies to you all the time, you soon either you wise up or you become brainwashed.
Well, and the thing about brainwashing, the thing about brainwashing, Doug, is this. In brainwashing, you want everybody to kind of follow the yellow brick road. Nobody steps off the path. Everybody's the same as a flock of sheep. You know, you're all going to go the same direction. And people take off the blinders and start asking questions about some of the parameters that are going on with various issues. Oh, would it be possible that this is a lab accident, or maybe it wasn't an oops, it was a planned attack? All of these things need to be questioned and looked at. You can't put the blinders on.
No, you can't. You can't. Like, what was it back in the 70s and the revolution and or all the protests and stuff? They kept saying don't trust the government, verify everything.
Yeah.
Well, now they're saying trust the government, we know what's right, and they're not verifying anything.
That's right. Listen, man, I know you got a call waiting there. I could tell your music has changed, though. It's good music. And God bless you and call me back. Thanks.
Okay. Hey, let's talk about senior citizens for about 10 seconds.
Yes, sir.
Let's do what we can to support them. Let's donate to them. Let's go eat there. And I'll tell you what, there's so much knowledge in that room, and you will walk away with a full heart and a full stomach.
There you go. Well stated, my friend. Thank you very much. God bless. Thank you. I'll tell you what, my friends, Cordell and Patty Sheridan are going to have their 25th annual bull sale. Ooh, boy, every year for a long time we've had them on the program. And the bull sale is going to be March 7th, and it's going to start at 1 p.m. at the Burley Auction Yard in Burley. Lunch provided at noon. They're going to be selling 80 head of ripping good bulls, 30 coming 2-year-olds and 50 yearlings, and free delivery up to 300-mile radius. I'm telling you, when you're talking good cattle, you're talking the best of cattle from Cordell and Patty Sheridan. Absolutely. To find out more, go to www.sheridancattle.com and look at the best that are going to be on sale March 7th at the Burley Livestock Sale Yard, the Sheridan Ranch Bull Sale. Boy, they've got some dandy cattle up there. Time for the weather, and then we'll take some more of your calls. Excuse me. And the weather brought to you by our friends at Mount Harrison Audiology. They care. They really care about the medical treatment of your hearing health. That's right. There's many, many reasons of hearing loss. So please work with the people that can help you, and they will. I urge you to give them a call, make an appointment at Mount Harrison Audiology and Hearing Aids. That number, 312-0957. I repeat, 312-0957. You give them a call today. And right now, here's Gina with the weather.
Warming up as we make our way through the work week. Here's a look at your weather forecast. Sunny skies today, a little bit of a breeze out of the west at about 5 miles an hour. We are expecting a high of 40 tonight, mostly clear, cooling down to about 21. Tomorrow, lots of sunshine, high of 46 with an overnight low of 24. By Thursday, sunny and 51, mid-50s for Friday and for Saturday. That's a look at your weather forecast for Zebeth Reyes.
Gina, thank you. Thank you very much. And again, thanks to her and Sharon for all they did for me while I was gone. And the weather brought to you by Mount Harrison Audiology and Hearing Aids. And with the best technology to provide the most comprehensive treatment to you and your hearing health. Call them, make an appointment today, 312-0957, Mount Harrison Audiology and Hearing Aids. All right, your turn. Give me a call, 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. Give me a call, please, and we'll talk about anything that you want to talk about in the remaining 15 minutes of this segment. Today, by the way, a very important day. Put it on your calendar. Call your wife. Get a hold of your relatives. It is National Pancake Day. I'll tell you what. I love pancakes. I always have. Today is National Pancake Day. Caller, good morning. You're on the air. Go ahead, please.
Good morning.
Hi there. I can now. Good morning.
Yeah. Let me do this differently. Okay. There we go. That's more better, I hope.
Yes, it is.
Okay. The comments that I have, and by the way, welcome back, about China. We know that the Chinese government was burning their paper money because they were saying that would stop the spread of the coronavirus. That's going to hurt that government. That's going to hurt those people. Because if you burn your paper money, most people have nothing else as a resource. Then the other thing that the Chinese government is doing right now is they've also canceled or told people if you are in a religious group, you cannot meet as a group anymore in China right now during this outbreak of the coronavirus. Besides that, they've already shut down some businesses. Some businesses have volunteered to shut down so that their people don't congregate. I think, my opinion, and I'm a conspiracy theorist, I'll tell you right up front I am, my opinion is this is the staging for what's going to happen in October before our November election. They're staging it and getting us prepped and ready to know, oh my gosh, you can't meet together because you're going to have this virus. That means you can't go to the polling places because you might have the virus. I think this is part of their scare tactic, and I think this is also one of their ways of getting back at President Trump for leveling the playing field as far as tariffs go.
So, in other words, what you're saying in a kind of a summation is that you have a tendency to agree with me that this wasn't an oops necessarily. It was a program plan to possibly engage the world in an anti-Trump, anti-U.S. Type movement.
Oh, I agree. I think it is. And I think it's a way to hurt a lot of businesses. We've already seen where it's hurt the cruise lines. It's hurt a lot of vacation places. And this is one of their little twisted mind ways to get the world to kowtow to China and the Chinese government saying, see, we can control you.
But you know something, Sharon? There are those in the audience right now that are probably driving down the interstate, going to work here in the valley, sitting at home or in their office, enjoying a cup of coffee, whatever, that are going to go, holy moly, that Zev and Sharon, why, they're kooks, they're crazy, they're crackpots. But we are not the only ones that are thinking this and responding to this situation with these same kinds of articulation. There are many people that are looking at this going, and questioning how and why this all of a sudden took place.
Exactly. And we have documentation on what the government's doing to their economy there. We have documentation on the fact that they are telling people you can't meet in your religious groups, in congregations,
right.
In whatever. We already have that as documentation. Why would they do that if they were not preparing to stop other activities and or people from doing things and convincing other people and other countries to say, oh my gosh, if China did that, we better do it too.
Well, and then I go back to what I mentioned a few moments ago, and the facts are the facts, that already this year in the United States there have been over 30,000 people that have died from the flu, but you don't hear that in comparison to the coronavirus.
Exactly. It is a major difference in what the deaths are. I mean, it's just crazy how the media is playing this up and making it, I believe, worse than what it really is. And I feel sorry for those families who have lost someone. I don't intend or don't want anyone to lose anybody in that fashion, in that means. But let's get some reality to it, too.
Amen. Sharon, I want to thank you now that I have you on the air again for your diligence and your great work while I was gone. Thank you so much.
It was fun. It was enjoyable. I love talking with our listeners. We have great people out there.
Amen.
And very knowledgeable. And the guests that we've had on have been absolutely phenomenal. And it's amazing to me that it's not just us here in this area that have the same feelings and thought processes, but the people in Florida, the people in New York, the ones in California, all over that I had on the air, they all have the same feelings and concerns about what is happening and how horrible the Democrats have become. And, I mean, they're almost in lockstep with China and Russia.
Absolutely. I want to thank you. God's blessings to you. Hey, can you hear what's going on in the background? Listen closely and let me know if you can hear that tap, tap, tap. You hear anything?
I had the radio on before I called, and no, I couldn't hear it.
I have got, remember about 6-8 months ago I had that crazy robin that was attacking my window? Well, he's playing kamikaze bird right now, and he's flying into the window. He takes off, flies around, hits it with his beak, and then comes back again. This is a very dumb bird.
He's from China.
Okay. God bless you, Sharon. Thank you so much. Appreciate it. Caller, good morning. You're on the air. Go ahead, please.
Zeb, it's me. I wrote this down earlier this morning. There's another virus out there. It's called the silent virus. It takes away your freedom of speech, self-responsibility, value, and your appreciation for what's given.
I couldn't agree more.
Pretty well sums up everything this morning.
Absolutely. What do you think, Earl? You're a pretty straight shooter, and you tell me if I'm right or wrong. Do you agree with the concepts that we've kind of laid out this morning regarding the coronavirus?
Yeah, totally. I mean, this attitude or this means of coming into this country has been going on for years or lurking for years, Zeb. And we need to keep reminding ourselves and our youth to watch for this.
Yeah.
And stay strong and buy those few things that I've given, and what I give can be added too.
Absolutely. Earl, it's always good to hear from you, and it's good to be back. Thank you so much. God bless you, man. Thanks for your call.
It's been a short 3 weeks that you've been gone, so everybody held in there strong for you, Zeb.
Well, I appreciate it. Thank you very much. Thank you. I want to make a comment. The 3 weeks that I was gone were kind of, I would say somewhat of a vacation and somewhat of a healing up process from some of the health problems that I incurred. And I make no apologies for being gone that length of time because I needed it. And boy, we came back. We're feeling much, much better. And I want to thank you for all your kind comments. Caller, real quick, you're on the air. I got about 2 minutes. Go ahead.
Hi, good morning, Zeb. This is from our family to you and Deanna. We missed you so terribly. We are so thankful and grateful, lovingly, and so grateful that you're back home. And thank you, and I'm glad you're okay, and it won't take 2 minutes. So have a wonderful day. We're glad to see you, and welcome back home.
Oh, thank you. Thank you very much. God bless you. I appreciate that call. Thank you. That was nice. That was nice. And there's a lot of nice people out there, and that lady, one of them. Thank you very much. I want to remind you, Mondays at 10:30, don't forget the Idaho Legislative Update, sponsored by Handy Truck Lines, next Monday at 10:30. I believe that Speaker of the House, Scott Bedke, is going to be our guest. And, of course, brought to you by Handy Truck Lines, mighty fine people serving all the Northwest. Idaho Legislative Update next Monday at 10:30. Real quick, too, I want to mention our major sponsor, and that, of course, your Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers. You know, if you're out on the farm and you're sitting there going, holy moly, my loader, it's got flat tires, and I don't know what to do. My skid steer's got flat tires. Don't worry about it. They've got the greatest in farm service from your Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers. I mean, they're there when you have a problem. And they've got the best of tires for all your driving needs, all the sizes for your pickups, cars, SUVs, horse trailers, boat trailers. Yeah, we can start saying boat trailers. Not too long. Well, they've got the best in service. And, of course, the very, very best in brake service, front end alignment, shocks and struts and batteries. They're there to serve you. Lane and Rupert, Dave on Blue Lakes and Twin, Mike and Buell, Mike in Jerome, the Twist family in Paul, Daniel on Pole Line in Twin Falls, and Trent on Overland in Burley. The best, your Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers. This next hour At 9:06, we have Dr. Roger Klein, an expert with the Regulatory Transparency Project's FDA and Health Working Group. He's a former medical director of molecular oncology at the Cleveland Clinic, and he's going to be on talking about the coronavirus. And we're going to talk to him straight up about some of our thoughts that we expressed this first hour. Then at 9:30, we have the Director of External Affairs with Live Action, Allison Senofonte, is going to be on our program. 10:06, Dr. History. I'm looking forward to having him on the show. And then at 10:30 this morning, I'm very honored to have my dear friend, former Representative Bert Stevenson, coming on talking about water issues here in the state of Idaho. All of this and more on Zeb at the Ranch, but there's one other person I want to thank and tell him he did a great job while I was gone, and that's my buddy, Old Wheels, over at the station. Wheels, take us up to news time. Thank you very much. Oh, good morning on a Tuesday, February 25th. I think I might have been in error last hour once when I said it was Monday because I wasn't here yesterday. Well, long story, I'm back today. Anyway, Tuesday, and our thanks go to our major sponsor, your Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers. All 7 locations serving you with the best of tires. Stop in and see them today. Also, thanks to Burley Physical Therapy and Rehabilitation at 1263 Bennett Avenue, Suite 2 in Burley, along with also Greystone Crossing Senior Living. And believe me, they're at 1221 21st Street in Hayburn. Seniors living the good life with friends. Right now, this good word for our friends at Western Waste Services.
From the canyons of the Snake River and all across southern Idaho, we're all at the Georgia struggle. Western Waste Services, we care about our community, our resources, and this free land. Western Waste Services is lending a hand, always at your disposal.
Western Waste Services, don't forget the power in pink with the pink carts, the trash carts to help fight trash cancer. They are absolutely leading the pack right now, and I thank them for their help. Western Waste Services, of course, the number to call, 734-6969. Check out the pink trash carts for your location, your home, your residence, your business. Give them a call. Western Waste Services, 734-6969. Right now, also, I want to remind you about our dear friends at Burley Physical Therapy and Rehabilitation. I cannot wait to start going back over there. I've missed over 3 weeks, and I'm anxious to get started again. Burley Physical Therapy and Rehabilitation at 1263 Bennett Avenue, Suite 2 in Burley, with Nick and the whole crew serving you and trying to get you back in shape and get you back to being you. Call the number 678-1191, 678-1191, and let them help you. Absolutely. If you're recouping from an accident or maybe some surgery, they're the people that can help you at Burley Physical Therapy and Rehabilitation. The number again, 678-1191. Real quick also, before we go to our guest, I want to mention to you about our friends at Hanson Mortuary. Hello, Joel Heward and his family and staff serving you at 710 6th Street in Rupert. When there's the passing of a loved one, they are there. They are there to serve you always with the highest ethical standards and unquestioned integrity. Please find out more information about the pre-planning of funerals. They have that information for you and your family. Call 436-5636. That number again, 436-5636. Hanson Mortuary, 710 6th Street in Rupert. And Joel Heward also serving you and your family at Morrison Payne Funeral Home on East Main in Burley. Right now, let's go to the phone line, and I've been really excited about having this gentleman on our program this morning. He is a doctor and expert with the Regulatory Transparency Project's FDA Health Working Group, former medical director of molecular oncology at the Cleveland Clinic, and we say good morning to Dr. Roger Klein. Sir, how are you?
Good. Hi, Zeb. Thank you for having me on.
It's my pleasure, and I think why I am so excited to have you on the air I wanted a cool hand Luke approach to what's going on with the coronavirus. This is what it is, this is what it's done, this is what it can do approach to answering questions. So take it from there and tell me in basic terminology, what is the coronavirus?
Yeah, so the coronavirus is a virus, which is really what's called a nucleic acid. It's really with some proteins. It's sort of a very strange primitive life form that can infect higher organisms like animals or people and spread from person to person or animal to person or animal to animal and cause different disease manifestations. So the coronavirus is a virus that affects the lungs. It's made of a nucleic acid called RNA, a ribonucleic acid, and it appears to have originated with an animal like a bat and worked its way through another animal vector to humans, and is presently causing a lung disease among mostly Chinese at this point.
All right, Dr. Klein, let me ask you this, and if I sound like a far right-winger, perhaps I have some of the ideas and ideology of being a little bit on a conspiracy theory type thing, and I want you to dispel that if you can. If this was an oops, kind of a mistake that was released from a laboratory, is that possible?
Is it well, I think it's possible that it came from a research laboratory. It's not impossible. I doubt it. There's nothing that suggests it's a weapon or some. It wouldn't really make sense to be a weapon because you wouldn't. A virus isn't a good biological weapon, especially not one that spreads through droplets and coughing and sneezing, because it would inevitably affect your own people. So I don't know where it came from. We can look at the genetic sequence and we can tell that it's very, very similar to a bat virus. So it originated in the bat. It's part of the SARS class. Whether somebody was studying it in a lab and it got out, I can't say absolutely no. That's not possible. I suspect that isn't the case. I think it probably just jumps from an animal. But I don't. It's not. This is not a weapon that really. There's nothing to suggest that this is any sort of biological weapon that got out of the lab, and I think that's really the more critical question.
Dr. Klein, when you look at the overall effect as to what's going on with the virus as far as the coronavirus, and then everybody all of a sudden starts to shudder and shake in fear and look for a face mask. But is this, with the media jumping on this and making it much bigger than what it is the problem where it is today much bigger than the flu?
So I don't want to minimize this, but I don't think it's. Not only is it not bigger, I think right now it's considerably less than the flu. I mean, we have every year we have maybe 40 million people who become ill with the flu. We have 60,000 people die. Right now, we have only had 14 people here who have tested positive upon coming here, all of whom came from China. We've only had 2 cases of person-to-person spread. We've brought another, maybe 30 or 40 people here who were known to be infected from China. We've had over 400 people tested who were with the people who traveled. They've all been negative. I don't think, we can look at the different countries. We can look at China. We can look at the spread, and it seems to be it's contagious, but it's most contagious, it appears to be, in people who are confined to small quarters. So taking people in and confining them, for example, to a boat in Japan seems like a bad idea. And, almost 20% of the people so far who were on that Diamond Princess ship got infected. it seems to spread with population density. So if you have 11 million people in Wuhan in China, and a lot of them are living very close to each other, and they're sneezing and coughing, and they're and they're touching common surfaces, and yeah, it can spread. But a few things that we can see are, first of all, there's probably many more cases in China, for example, than are reported. Their ability to test is poor, and the people who are coming to medical attention are going to be the sickest. So the death rate, which looks like it's about 3% in China, 1% outside of China, is probably much, much lower. There are probably many cases walking around who don't even have symptoms. And so, yeah, I mean, my own sense of this, and we know quite a bit already from what's happening, irrespective of numbers that are I wouldn't call reliable out of China, is that it doesn't. I think that we need to take it seriously, but there's no reason to panic, and certainly not a reason to overreact. We need to implement protection, but I think alarm is not justified at this time, particularly in the United States.
Well, let me ask you this part of it.
70 people a year get struck by lightning.
Right.
We had 14 people who have come here from China who have tested positive, and then, of course, the others that we knew were infected that we brought back.
Well, Dr. Klein, that leads me to go into this next area of questioning regarding the coronavirus. Why, in your opinion, is the news media setting their hair on fire and almost basically saying it's the end of the world, when at the same time, like going back to what we said a few moments ago, they very seldom ever report the 60,000 deaths a year from the flu in the United States?
Yeah, well, I think part of it is people are trying to, it's a business like anything else. People are trying to attract attention. I do get concerned because I hear political commentators looking to, almost hoping that seeming to hope that this is going to cause some sort of economic problem that may reflect upon the president. I hope I'm wrong about that, but I think in the political realm we may have seen that. And I've heard speculation. How is this going to help hurt the president? Help Senator Sanders if that's who ends up to be the nominee? I think this is simply wrong-headed, and it's not the way to look at it. I think the administration's doing a fine job. Viruses happen. They're doing what should be done, and I think everything in terms of the travel restrictions and other things. Right, we have very low risk right now in the United States. It isn't to say it's not going to spread, but this right now is minuscule compared to the flu.
Dr. Klein, you mentioned just a little bit ago about the political aspects as to how this could be twisted and turned to influence, if you will, November's election. But let me ask you this. Why then is there so much criticism by the left, especially Chuck Schumer and others, for President Trump allocating $2.6 billion to find out about a virus, the coronavirus, and also the possible injections that could be taken to eliminate it? Why are the Democrats so hell-bent on criticizing the money allocated to fight this?
What did they say? It was insufficient or too much? The problem is if he gives $20 billion, they'll say they'll say it's too much, and if he gives $2 billion, they'll say it's too little. Whatever he does, they're going to criticize, and I think that in this type of setting, we need to try to keep objective and not let these things happen. I mean, I just saw an analogy to Katrina, and somebody was saying, well, how could it affect the president? I just heard somebody say this, and well, it's the response. Not everybody. No one's going to blame them for a virus, but did they respond properly? And of course, that sets things up in a wrong setting. It's wrong to do that. To politicize an event like this, because it can lead to inappropriate responses.
Let me ask you about our health care here in this United States, our CDC, Center for Disease Control, and the medical profession of which you're a part. How happy are you that this United States is still a safe bastion against these kinds of viruses with the excellence that we have in medical science? Tell us a little bit about that.
Well, I have no doubt that in addition to the bias, because sicker people are going to medical attention, getting medical attention, and going to medical attention, which makes this look more deadly than it is. In China, I have no doubt that the care that's provided there, even though we don't have a medicine to treat it, the supportive care, what we can do for people who are already sick, and again, the people who are getting sick the people who are dying are people who, for the most part, are already have other illnesses or are elderly and vulnerable. I have no doubt that we can do a better job of treating those people here. And what happens in the population of China, of Wuhan, China, is not at all going to be what would happen in the United States of America with the really excellent health care we have here. One issue that I think one problem that we are concerned that is it may be present here is that the inability to or to allow more laboratories to test, and we have a situation here where there are plenty of laboratories that are willing to test. A company just got approval to sell a test, a Utah company in Europe, so they can sell it in Europe, but they can't sell it here. So there are labs here who would be certainly willing to set up that test, who would want to set up that test, even though they probably, even though it may not come to anything, who would want to do that test, and they're not able to get the test because we're restricting who can test, and that's really an FDA issue. And I think we need to look more broadly at allowing our healthcare system to work, and let's make sure that we don't have more people walking around with this virus than we know. But in the end, right now, the best thing you can do is all the safety measures, washing your hands and using hand sanitizer and not touching your face. All those things you should do to protect yourself from the flu, in addition to getting the flu shot, which is many, many, many times more likely to get you sick and even to kill you than is right now this coronavirus.
Well, let me ask you, and again, this is a very layman's approach to medicine. I don't have nearly the knowledge that you have on any of these subjects, but the coronavirus, is this something new as a virus? Has it been for a while? Has it been acknowledged as a virus for a while? I mean, tell us, how new is this?
Well, it's a new strain. And so we've had these types of coronaviruses. We have coronaviruses that cause colds. We've had SARS, to which this is related. And in fact, a remarkable feat of technology. In just a few weeks, they were able to isolate this virus in China using American technology and determine its sequence. And we had labs many patients in a very, very short period of time sequenced in a number of different countries, and tests set up right away based on those sequences to detect it. So what it is coronaviruses have existed. They primarily, or many of them, infect animals. This looks like it's very much like a virus that circulates in bats. It's well over 90% similar in its sequence, but there was some change in it, and it was modified. It jumped probably through an intermediate animal to humans, and so it is new, and in the sense of infecting humans. But looking at the sequences from the dispersed patients around the world, it looks like they all came from a central focal point in China. You can tell by how quickly the viral sequences change or mutate, whether or not they're different strains. And this all seems to have come from this one spot in Wuhan, China, in the fall, in November, late October, November, and the sequences have very little change from the many patients in different countries that have been sequenced.
Dr. Klein, last week I was in Arizona, and there was a report out last Wednesday morning that a horse had come down with the coronavirus, an equine development of this coronavirus. What do you know about it being transferable to horses? Any knowledge that this might take on a new mutation here in this United States?
I am not aware of this virus. It's got to be honest with you, I'm not really aware of the potential animal consequences. It's certainly possible it doesn't. This seems extremely unlikely that we're talking about the same virus. it doesn't appear to be circulating here right now. And you can say, well, we don't have very many people tested, but we do have all of those people who came over on the same transportation vehicles with the people who we know were infected, and most of them the vast majority tested negative for the virus. So as far as we know right now, it really isn't circulating. The likelihood that this virus affected a horse seems extremely low. Nothing's impossible. But there are other, if they're describing it as an equine virus, it's a horse virus.
Okay. One final thought on this. For my listeners, my audience, and people are saying, okay, we don't know who we're meeting. We don't know who we're shaking hands with. We don't know who we're sitting next to on the bus or the subway or whether we go to an airport. What should we do if we start to feel ill? I mean, what are some of the signs that people need to be cognizant of, and what should they do?
Yeah, so the symptoms are pretty much indistinguishable from a cold or the flu. So and really, no, you're not at risk for the coronavirus unless you've been exposed to people who are known to have the coronavirus, which, to our knowledge at this point, are very, very small in number. If somebody gets a fever, particularly a high fever, and a cough, the overwhelming likelihood is that they have the flu, relative as opposed to this coronavirus, and I think it's important to seek medical attention and to get diagnosed with the flu. We have already as many, I think, as about 30 million cases of the flu this year, and so I think, so what should you do? You want to protect yourself against that. Again, using hand sanitizer, not getting close to people. Shaking hands is really it's really a bad idea. Generally, when and touching surfaces and touching your nose isn't a good idea. These are the kinds of things you want to avoid that will protect you from the flu or the coronavirus if by some rare, one in a million lightning strike situation, the person near you seems to have coronavirus. But it's mostly spreading in areas, it looks like, where people are very closely and densely living together. Even in Wuhan, China, it's a very small. They have 11 million people there, and we're talking about 77,000 infected people. So now, look, it's probably many-fold higher with people who are mildly or even asymptomatically infected, but still, that's a very small percentage of the population, and much smaller than the 5 to 20% of Americans who are believed to get infected with the flu each year. So that would be, if you get sick, I think it's important to go see your doctor, and get tested for the flu. That's really the most because we can treat the flu. We can at least make it relieve the symptoms a little bit. And I think it's very important for everybody to get a flu vaccine. It's never too late.
One final thought. I've only got a minute left, Doctor. What about the elderly? Are they much more susceptible to this virus?
They are, just as they're more susceptible to the flu. And so, look, the people die from lung disease like pneumonia, and that's what they die from with the flu. Look, if you're elderly, don't go around in crowds of people. Don't go where people are coughing. Make sure you're using hand sanitizer and washing your hands and not touching your face. Don't go on a public transportation and touch the railing and touch your nose. You're going to use hand sanitizer liberally, and if you get sick, see your doctor. But because again, if you have the flu, there's a medicine that we can give, and you have to start it right away, or it doesn't really help. But you need to be watched. But again, the flu is a much greater risk. We know it's circulating, and you can do a lot to protect yourself from injury or death from the flu. We're gonna have maybe 60,000 people die from the flu this year, and many of them are elderly.
Absolutely. Dr. Roger Klein, I absolutely thank you for taking the time to come on our program this morning, and please come back in the future. Roger Klein, MD, thank you, sir. God bless.
Thank you.
All right, sir. Really enjoyed his straightforward approach in answering about the flu and the coronavirus and the dangers. And I want to thank Roger Klein, MD, for being on the program this morning. And a dear friend of mine, Matt Martini, helped set that up back east. And Matt, if you're listening this morning, thank you very much. Let's not forget our friends at Let's Ride. This is where the fun is sold. Absolutely, Let's Ride. 270 Highway 24 between Rupert and the World. Oh my, they're open Monday through Friday 9 to 6, Saturdays 9 to 4. They've got all your snowmobiles. You better hurry if you haven't had a chance to go snowmobiling. Plenty of snow up there. And then get ready, because right around the corner there, Peak, see it? Right around the corner, a lot of four-wheeling coming up on the horizon for springtime. You get ready at Let's Ride, 270 Highway 24 between Rupert and the World. And boy, have they got a great service department too. Let's Ride, where the fun is sold. Really good people. Right now, my old buddy Wheels has got our next guest ready to go, I'm sure, and I'm looking forward to visiting, and I'm going to say her name, and if I'm wrong, I hope she'll correct me. Allison Senefonte, Director of External Affairs for Live Action. Good morning, Allison. How are you?
Good morning. Good and beautifully said. You hit it right on the head.
Well, tell me a little bit about Live Action. What does that mean?
Absolutely. So I work with Live Action, founded by our president and founder, Lila Rose, who many of your listeners should know. We are about a 10-year-old digital media organization that's grown the largest following in the pro-life movement. I was started by Lila, and we continue her mission of exposing the abortion industry. She started with undercover videos into Planned Parenthoods across the country, and now we've built that out online. We have Live Action News, and we're changing hearts and minds daily on this issue. So I'm our Director of External Affairs, and we have a team in D.C., a team in L.A. We're really trying to change culture and law and protect all the lives we can.
You will not talk to, I don't think, anybody that is more pro-life than I am. I look at the abortion industry as nothing more than murder. I'm very blunt in my terminology, in my animosity and hatred against Planned Parenthood. Am I wrong?
No, absolutely not. I mean, you're very smart for realizing the reality of prenatal development, the reality of the procedure and the industry. And yes, we know a life is always lost in abortion, and we at Live Action do that as well. We're with you, Zeb, in that strong conviction. But we also know that there's so many hundreds of thousands, millions of post-abortive women and men who, as soon as we use the word murder, need to realize that we're also the side of healing. We're the side of wanting them to share their stories and teach others, what they've been through and what they wish they knew. The people that we hear from that are post-abortive are saying, look, I didn't have the education and I didn't have the support. And so we're fixing that too. You need to be educated on what is going on, what's going on with your body, what this procedure is. You also need the support. We as a society should come around women in need and make sure that they are supported in choosing life.
Tell me a little bit about, on the topic sheet for this morning, it says that there's going to be a vote in the Senate today, I believe, on the Born Alive Abortion Survivor Protection Act and the Pain-Capable Unborn Child Protection Act. Tell us about those two, if you would, please.
Thanks, Deb. Yeah, today's a really big day in Washington, D.C. So there are two bills being debated in the Senate, as you said. One is the Born Alive Abortion Survivors Protection Act. And what that does, the Born Alive Act makes sure that survivors of abortion, so babies that survive that procedure, are treated in the same degree of professional care of any other child that would be born alive at that same age. Shockingly, right now, there is no federal law that requires you to treat these children. And we at Live Action News and others have shared stories of OBGYNs, nurses in hospitals saying, what do we do with this abortion survivor? And these babies being left, Zeb, in trash cans and bins and closets because, well, it's an aborted baby and it came out breathing, but we don't know what to do with it, so let's just leave it. And so this is an absolutely necessary federal act to ensure that these doctors are required to treat these survivors with care so that they don't die from lack of care. It's Senator Ben Sasse out of Nebraska who introduced this legislation, and today it will be debated. It's a very, very much a, quote, common sense piece of legislation, right? This is a child that is breathing outside of the womb. But sadly, those on the left, pro-abortion movement, is calling this an anti-abortion bill. This has nothing to do with abortion. This is about a child that is breathing outside the womb and how it's treated. And you know, because I know you covered this, but this happens. Think about Kermit Gosnell in Philadelphia, whose crimes against newborns were not legal under federal law. We know that there's evidence that infants are surviving in other places across the country, and without a federal law in place to ensure that they get care, many times they're left to die.
You know, it's really hard for me to talk about this subject, Allison, because I get so upset and downright mad. And I look back to the pre-Obama era when he was president and he was senator from Illinois. And he was an advocate of a bill of just basically letting these babies be put on a gurney and pushed into a closet and let them die. And I don't know where the humanity is on the left. It seems to me they've lost their humanity. Would you agree?
Yeah, absolutely. You're absolutely right. I mean, to think about a child outside of the womb, gasping for air, having survived the tragic abortion procedure, and to not be treated well. I mean, the reality is, you know, the closest we've gotten is George Bush passed legislation that would at least acknowledge them as people. So it would say, okay, that was a person that died, but it didn't require that they were taken to the hospital. And what this does, what the Born Alive Abortion Survivors Protection Act uniquely does, is it ensures and requires that that child is treated in the same degree of professional care, meaning it's taken to the hospital. Its life is honored, and they would save that baby in the same way they would render care to any other child born at that age, whether it was 24 weeks or 18 weeks or 25 weeks, right? And it says if you don't, there are penalties in place. So it puts the penalty on the so-called doctor, the abortionist, to ensure that they get care. And it's sad. I mean, the pro-abortion movement should be outraged that, you know, even a doctor wouldn't take care of a kid that's breathing on the table. But the left has continued to say this is anti-life, anti-abortion, that it will affect access for women. So please, if you're watching today, the Senate will vote on this. We'll hear debate on this about 2 and then vote at round 3. And just listen to the other side. This is not likely, Zeb. This bill is not likely to succeed today. The Democrats are probably going to block it. But what it will do, and what I'm hopeful it will do, is expose just how dehumanizing the rationale is in the argument for abortion. That these same people who are pro-abortion can't even see the reality of protecting a child after it's born. That's how harsh, callous, uncompassionate we have become as a society. So I think that's the good that will come out of today's debate on this bill.
I can't imagine in my mind at all of the doctors and the nurses I know that have taken the Hippocratic Oath to serve lives and try to protect and keep lives, how anybody could be that cold and callous to put a baby on a gurney and push it into a closet until it dies. I mean, that's not the medical science that I have been exposed to throughout my life. This is a cold, dehumanizing, murderous attitude.
100%. It absolutely is. And you're right. We've heard from nurses as well who have said, I didn't know what to do in that case. You know, I took a Hippocratic Oath to heal and not harm. And here I was facing the delivery of a child after an abortion that had survived and being told by my OB to let it pass, let it go. And it does. I think the reality is that it is messing with the medical community's mind because their logic, it falls apart as soon as they see that child. Now, we're talking about the born alive bill, which is after the abortion, after the baby's born. But there's also, as you mentioned, another bill coming up today being voted on in the Senate. It's called the Pain Capable Unborn Child Protection Act. That's at 20 weeks. And that's a very, very important vote as well. So we can talk about that if you'd like. But that, again, I think is messing with the medical community's mind of realizing, look, we fight for this baby sometimes if the mother wants it, right? We fight for it. We give it anesthesia if we have to do surgery on it. But in the next room over, if she is abortion-minded, we completely destroy this innocent preborn life.
Well, explain that a little bit to my audience, the Pain Capable Unborn Child Protection Act. Yes, I definitely want you to get into it, and I'm going to take the time for you to explain it. Go ahead, please.
Thanks, Eb. So the Pain Capable Unborn Child Protection Act, while longly worded, is very easy to explain. It is a bill that would restrict abortion after 20 weeks. Here's why that 20-week mark is there. That's a stage that several studies reveal babies can feel pain. They have an elevated heart rate, a secretion of stress hormones at that point when administered stimuli, and they can feel pain. And so we, as a pro-life community, have said, hey, guys, can you meet us here? I know you're pro-abortion, but look, this unborn life feels pain. And we believe that we can come together, bipartisan support, especially given that 3/4 of Americans would limit abortion to at most the first 3 months of pregnancy, right? This is consistent polling data that the American people are okay with limiting abortion after the first 3 months. Can you meet us here? And we have failed time and time again to get bipartisan support. This bill would acknowledge that at 20 weeks, Zeb, you know this, 20 weeks, the baby has arms, legs, a heart, brainwaves, its lungs. It can feel pain now. It has fingernails, eyelashes, hair. That's a developing human being. And even if you're pro-abortion, you can look that up on any baby app. You can look it up anywhere and see just how developed it is. That we would say, look, no more abortions after 20 weeks. There are exceptions in the bill for rape, incest, or life of the mother. But we would be able to, as pro-lifers, to get to 99%, right? The 99% of abortions that are not rape, incest, or life of the mother. And say, we'll protect these ones. So that's being heard again today in the Senate. In January 2018, it passed the Republican-held House by a wide margin, and now it's being brought up again, thanks to Mitch McConnell bringing it to the floor. And it's an amazing piece of legislation that we've been fighting for at Live Action. Other groups, Susan B. Anthony, Family Research Council, Concerned Women for America, we've all joined hands in the pro-life movement and said, look, we want to protect them all, right? We want to protect all children. But we're going to be strategic. If we can convince you that a baby at 20 weeks is worthy of community, then let's protect them at 20 weeks. But even then, sadly, the pro-abortion movement is so ideologically bought in to the idea of abortion that they won't even have this debate. There aren't even enough senators, most likely, to allow a vote on this bill today. What's going to happen, just for those who kind of like going into the weeds, today there will be debate in the Senate on both acts, Pain Capable and Born Alive. And then there will be, it's roll call. So we're going to need 60 senators to say, yes, let's bring this to vote. Let's end debate and let's vote. And we need 60 senators to do that. But the reality is there are only 53 Republican senators right now. There's about 45 Democrat senators and 2 independents. So you can see we would need about 7 people to flip their party's position and say, okay, let's bring this to a vote. And 2 things there's a elections matter. Number 1, you should see, this is why elections matter, because if we had more Republican senators, we can make a vote on this happen. But number 2, isn't it sad, don't you find it sad, that we can't even get a vote on this because people are scared to even be on the record about voting on something like this? They won't even let us get close to a vote. They'll block the ability to vote on it. And so that's the reality of probably what will happen today. We're all going to tune in and see. But that's the overview of where Pain Capable stands.
You know, I sit here on various programs and segments talking about pro-life and then the heinous abortion attitude of the left. And I ask myself, how? How and why can the political split in the middle from the conservatives over to the liberals, how can the left adopt a principle or a belief in abortion and the killing of babies and a disrespect for life? I just can't understand how people can be that inhumane.
Yeah. Well, then money will make you do weird things. This is about money. And the more we look into it at Live Action, it's just where these donations are coming from. So a lot of these Democrats sadly receive money from groups like NARAL, like Planned Parenthood, that say you have to be all in on abortion in order to receive our endorsement. And that's what's pushed the Democrat Party so far to the left of being for abortion through all 9 months for any reason at the taxpayer's dime. That's not where most, even Democrat voters, are today. Because we, the pro-life movement, have done such a good job educating, exposing what abortion is, even Democrat voters, I was just looking at a poll today, the Marist poll from this year, shows that 77% of Democrats want to limit abortion in some way more than it is today. So maybe they're uncomfortable with late-term abortion. Or maybe they're uncomfortable with abortions on babies because they're girls, or because of race, or the color of their skin, right? But right now, all of those things are absolutely legal in our country, and the Democrat platform is all in support of abortion for, again, any reason, whether it's boy, girl, black, white, has a disability, doesn't have a disability, whatever that is. 77% of Democrat voters want to restrict it in some way, but everyone running for Democrat office right now on the presidential stage, there's no one for them to get behind. There's no nuance, right? There's no even kind of intellectual questioning. It's so dehumanizing. It's so callous. And that's why I think a lot of Democrat voters are really questioning their own positions on life and saying, look, I might actually agree more with some Republican policies than I thought. Something like the pain capable bill is somewhere that I could see a pro-abortion voter saying, I'll meet you there, right? You can see that. I'll meet you at 20 weeks, because after 20 weeks, that child can feel pain, and we should advocate for adoption. We should do everything we can to support that mom in choosing life. So the reality of the pro-abortion movement is that it's incredibly illogical and hypocritical. And I'll use this example to prove it. Two things. Right now, fetuses receive anesthesia in the context of therapeutic surgery. So they receive anesthesia at the same time we as a country allow abortion. So the dismembering of that child, sadly. So this underscores the hideous disparity between how doctors treat babies when they're wanted and when they're not. If they're wanted, you get anesthesia and we'll do surgery to fix your spina bifida. If you're not wanted, we won't give you anything and we'll tear you limb from limb and remove you with a vacuum that's 40 times as strong as the household vacuum. We know you can feel pain. That's the illogical reality of the pro-abortion left. Number two, just this time last November, the president signed a bill that dealt with animal rights abuse, and the Senate unanimously passed legislation to condemn animal rights animal abuse, saying it's not allowed. Today you're going to see that same Senate say, well, not for babies at 20 weeks. I don't want to protect babies at 20 weeks. I don't want to protect babies that are born alive, breathing, but I will definitely defend the dog or the cat or the pig that might be abused. Isn't that wild that we have a society that can do that speak out of both sides of our mouth and not realize just how illogical we are being and how poorly we're treating human beings?
Absolutely. Absolutely. You know, I wish I had more time, and therefore I will ask you to come back in the future. I found you to be very, very eloquent in promoting what I think is a necessity in our life, and that's to be more pro-life and more proactive for the children in our society. Allison Senofonte, Director of External Affairs for Live Action, I simply say God bless you for what you're doing, and thank you for being on the program.
thank you for what you're doing. Thanks for covering an important story, Zeb. We need your voice. I really appreciate it.
God bless. Come back soon, please.
Thanks.
All right. Thank you very much. Wow. She's 100% right. Recently, there was a bill signed for the prevention of animal cruelty. And unfortunately, these stupid politicians, of which they are, didn't even read the bill before it was signed. And I put a little onus on President Trump, too, for not reading the bill. It was pushed through by the Humane Society of the United States that wants to see any and all animal usage, whether it's on the farm or fairs, whatever, stopped. And she's right. They care more about animals than they do babies. And it's about high time they got their head out of the sand and started thinking about humanity first and foremost. If that offends somebody, so be it. Right now it's time for the weather, and the weather brought to you by Phillips Oaks, Goodwin, Crane, and Company. These are really, really nice people. The night before we left on our vacation, we had a chance to be at the chamber banquet with them, and they're wonderful people. Phillips Oaks, Goodwin, Crane, and Company, providing accounting services to the Mini-Cash area for well over 50 years, with the best of tax return preparation, tax planning, financial statement preparation, retirement planning, all of this and so much more. I urge you to get a hold of them today, and we're getting into and are into tax season, so please get a hold of them today. Phillips Oaks, Goodwin, Crane, and Company. And right now, here's Gina with the weather.
Warming up as we make our way through the work week. Here's a look at your weather forecast. Sunny skies today, a little bit of a breeze out of the west at about 5 miles an hour. We are expecting a high of 40 tonight, mostly clear, cooling down to about 21. Tomorrow, lots of sunshine, high of 46 with an overnight low of 24. By Thursday, sunny and 51, mid-50s for Friday and for Saturday. That's a look at your weather forecast for Zebeth Rain.
I love that weather forecast. Thank you, Gina. Appreciate that. And it's brought to you by Phillips Oaks, Goodwin, Crane, and Company. As I said, they've been providing accounting services to the Mini-Cash area for over 50 years. Great folks, very professional, and they can help you, your family, and your business. They've got offices in Burley and Rupert. Remember the name. Get a hold of them today. Phillips Oaks, Goodwin, Crane, and Company. I've got time for a couple of phone calls, so give me a jingle on the landline at 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. Quick reminder, we are going to be having Lunch Bunch this Thursday, and it's going to be at Denny's Restaurant. Please put that on your calendar and be there. We need more numbers. We need more people as we go into the spring season, and so we urge you to be at Denny's Restaurant at 611 North Overland in Burley at 11:30 on this Thursday. And we're going to have a lot of gift certificates to give away from Walmart and Smith's Foods, Hanson Mortuary, Stokes Groceries, Doug Martin, Denny's. All of these folks really heavily involved in our lunch bunch, so come on over and be a part of it at Denny's Restaurant, 611 North Overland in Burley. Zeb's Lunch Bunch this Thursday, day after tomorrow, and we'll see you there at 11:30. Also, while I'm waiting for your phone calls, I want to remind you, too, about our friends over at Cameron and Siemens Insurance. My. Hello, Todd and the crew on Highway 24. Right there as you go into Rupert on the curve. Can't miss them. They've got a sign out there that says the best of life insurance, health insurance, retirement planning, and employee benefits through Cameron and Siemens Insurance. They really, really are dedicated and responsive to your needs and accessible to helping you. All you need to do is call the number and make an appointment at 436-4424. That number again, 436-4424. Cameron and Siemens Insurance, Highway 24 in Rupert. They are waiting right now to serve you. All right, give me a call, 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. One thing that was brought to my attention while I was on the road is that our wonderful, dear friends at Idaho Power that have avoided coming on this program, have avoided talking to me, have avoided answering any questions about their green energy fiasco plan for about 2045. They were on another Magic Valley radio station while I was gone, and they took all the softball questions about our energy future. This proves to me their cowardice and prejudice against me in this program and my listeners, and I take great offense at this because they would not, under a very cordial, professional asking of them to come on the program, they would not even respond. Now, their leadership is very questionable, and I notice that their leadership is changing, and I hope with the new leadership that Idaho Power will have a more gracious attitude towards providing information that's necessary and due the ratepayers here in southern Idaho. But time will tell, and we'll hopefully keep pushing them and pursuing them to come on this program and answer questions about their green energy involvement and movement. And I will keep doing my best to get answers from a company that, as of late, has shown nothing but cowardice to come on this program. Let's see. I want to remind you tomorrow. Who have we got coming on the program tomorrow? Well, I've got just a minute here. We're going to have Dave Bigo. And then we're going to have the Pacific Legal Foundation, Tony Francois, and Gregory Wrightstone is going to be on the air talking about more of the idiocy and incompetency of those that are pushing for climate change. And then a dear, dear friend will be on the air tomorrow. Dr. Lamero will be talking about all things political, and we're really going to find out about his prognostication as to how it relates to the Democratic Party and the so-called 7 remaining standing Democrats that are going to be battling in a debate tonight. We'll get all of this tomorrow from Dr. Gerard Lamero, and we're looking forward to having him on the air, so don't miss that. Right now, we're getting ready at the 10:06 part of our program for Dr. History, and he will be coming up in just a few short minutes. We're going to turn this back over to Wheels, and we'll be back at 10:06. Oh my, here we go into hour number 3. Zeb at the Ranch, and of course brought to you by our major sponsor, your Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers, all 7 locations with all the tires you need for safe driving. And of course, Burley Physical Therapy and Rehabilitation at 1263 Bennett Avenue, Suite 2 in Burley, helping you get back to being you. And our friends at Greystone Crossing Senior Living. Oh my goodness, these are wonderful, wonderful people. The Wiggins, I'm telling you, Kelly or Matt can help you, show you around the beautiful Greystone Crossing, and it is for senior living on Alfresco Road. I mean, they provide wonderful 3 meals a day, plus snacks, plus housekeeping, local transportation, and it's a beautiful place. Brand spanking new Greystone Crossing. I urge you to call, make an appointment to see the facilities at 650-4979. I'll say it again, 650-4979. Matt and Kelly Wiggins serving you, and set up an appointment today to see Greystone Crossing Senior Living on 21st Street in Hayburn. Oh, it is time, as we just reacquainted ourselves with a shake of the hand and a hi, how are you, what's your name, how do you spell it? Good morning, Dr. History. Good to have you on the show.
Good morning. Glad to have you back. Glad to be out here in the studio. And
I am so glad to be back, but I really garnered a lot of history stories for you.
You told me that.
Down in Arizona.
Yeah, you found some stuff for me. I'm anxious to see what you got.
Mr. Wickenburg, that founded the city in 1863. Very interesting. All the gold mining that is going on down there, and all the gold. You have to really be careful out in the desert around Wickenburg if you're going out in a four-wheeler.
Right.
You don't fall into a mine shaft.
Is that right?
Yeah.
Well, I'm going to look into that and see what stories we can come up with.
And I got to tell you real quickly, Deanna and I thought we would do a little exploring one day. Not smart on my part.
You didn't leave a trail of breadcrumbs.
I didn't have enough bread at the grocery store. I got so lost out in the middle of the desert that there was a time, a mere moment in history, that I almost wanted to say, help! Couldn't get out of there. But we made it.
Bad feeling.
There you go. What are we going to talk about today?
Well, when you think of the cattle industry in the Old West, you got to think of the challenges, the difficulties with, with the cattle drives, of course, the stampedes, the crossing of the rivers, the Indians, the robbers, the quicksand, all those things.
All those were the positive
Those
things.
were the good things. But one thing that we have never talked about on this show is the droughts that took place in the Old West.
Yeah.
So that's what we're going to talk about. So, in the Old West, the ranching business, of course, centered on cattle, but in reality, the livestock trade focused on grass and water.
Yep, it did.
So much so that droughts always threatened the success of the cattle industry,
right.
The whole thing. So without regular rainfall, the grass, of course, would wither away and dry and die, and cattle fell to hunger or thirst, and ranchers faced a kind of a domino effect of ever-increasing consequences that were measured in years rather than months. Now, ironically, the cattle kingdom that evolved after the Civil War kind of overlapped the semi-arid reaches of the Great Plains, a region located between the Rocky Mountains and the 98th meridian near Fort Worth, Texas, and a region where rain made for pretty uncertain ranching. I mean, they could not rely on rainfall. Mm-hmm. Now, from Fort Worth west to the Rockies, the annual rainfall averaged less than 20 inches, a yearly accumulation that kept the cattle business okay. They were on edge, but they could get by. Now, the ranches in West Texas, the Texas and Oklahoma panhandles, southwestern Kansas, and southeastern Colorado, this was where the greatest risk was because of higher evaporation rates. Now, this is something I had never considered, Zeb. In those areas, temperatures and altitude resulted in evaporation rates ranging from 52 to 60 inches.
Well, and then if you're talking about Kansas and Oklahoma, you're talking about a high humidity rate.
Yeah, and this was during the critical months from April through September,
right.
all through the summer.
Yeah.
Now, by comparison, evaporation rates farther north in the Dakota Territory, it was about half. It was about 30 to 38 inches during the same months.
Right.
So you've got to replace that with water and rain somehow. So, they talk about the cows that would be crazed by thirst, and they'd make a mad break for a waterfall when they smell water. Cowboys would try to avoid the stampedes by keeping the herd together. And although these range herds were not these range hands were not very successful at stopping that. In fact, a Texas drought is not just a dangerous relic of the past. Just as recently as 2011, all over, the country's largest beef-producing state, thirsty cows died from lack of water. And then, here's what's ironic, Zeb, too much water. When these dehydrated cows were moved to water, they gulped it down so fast and so greedily that a lot of them just keeled over and died from drinking too much water.
Then recently, all the flooding down in South Texas that killed a lot of livestock.
Right. Well, I know just with experience around horses, when you take a horse to drink sometimes and they haven't had some for a while, you don't let them just drink as much as they want.
Absolutely.
So, anyway, because of the lower evaporation rate, northern ranches had a higher effective yield on rainfall during the hot months, more than Texas ranches. That included the XIT ranch. Have you heard of that?
Yes, I have. No.
And how about the Matador?
Yep.
And the Spade?
Absolutely.
And the Spur?
Yes.
So all four of those. Yeah.
I've been blessed in my business to have worked with a lot of contestants that work what they call the working ranch rodeos.
Oh, okay.
And a lot of those people work on those ranches.
And they're still in existence?
Yes,
yeah.
they are.
Well, there was a historian by the name of William Holden. He put it this way. He said, quote, "From the earliest days of its settlement, West Texas has had a reputation for frequent dry spells and at longer intervals and severe droughts."
Right.
And, while the large corporate ranches often had the resources and the flexibility to make it through a drought, the smaller outfits, they didn't. And for instance, one modest rancher 6 miles north of Colorado City, Texas, he started in the spring of 1885 with a herd of 1,500. 1,500 cows. The rain didn't come until August, and then only just in, little spurts. And by this time, his herd had dwindled down to 11 animals.
Out of 1,500?
1,500.
Wow.
He had 11.
Wow.
And so at the market price of $35 a head that summer, his loss would have been $52,115, equal to $1.3 million today. I mean,
unbelievable.
Yeah, I mean, to lose almost every animal out of 1,500.
Man.
So now,
does it say what he did for his next occupation?
I don't know what he did. Might have sold cowhide. I don't know. I feel bad for the guy, but so in order to get water for this land in 1884, settlers drilled the first well into what they called the Edwards limestone to supply the city of San Antonio. Okay. Now, to this day, actually, this Edwards aquifer provides the only existing water supply to ranches, military installations, and residents of Texas's second largest city and the nation's seventh largest. Now, there's a guy by the name of S.D. Frazier. He completed the first flowing well at a place called Carrizo Springs that same year. Another rancher nearby, his name was F.G. Oxshear of the Jumbo Cattle Company. Haven't heard of that one. Anyway, he fared a little better. He managed to save half of his herd, but he skinned the carcasses of the others to sell the hides at $3 a piece.
$3.
Yeah, for a cow.
$3 after all that work.
And plus the work of skinning the animal.
Oh, my goodness.
Well, since the late 1800s, ranches began pumping underground water to the surface through mechanical windmills. And these cattle water at a tank from a company called the Leader Windmill, built by T.M. Brown and Company of Fort Worth. And, of course, now when you think of across the country, you just picture windmills all over the place, right? Pumping water. So the year 1885 started one of two major multi-year droughts that shook the West Texas cattle industry and forced ranchers to kind of reassess their practices just to get by, just to survive. Now, those droughts came within a 10-year period. The first one was in 1885 to 87, so about a 2 or 3 year period right there. And then the second one was 1890 to 94, a 4-year period, so twice within a 10-year span. And, of course, it varied depending on where you were at, because for example, the 3 million acre XIT ranch, for instance, stretched 200 miles along the western border of the Texas Panhandle. Right. So some of the XIT divisions fared better than others during the drought because they would get some localized rain showers.
I'm going to interrupt you right there, and I want your opinion on something. Doesn't it tell you in what you just stated that climate is cyclical and changing, and we have records of going back to the 1880s of drought and climate change, and then we have these people today that absolutely are saying, oh, the sky is falling.
Well, and then you got the other side of it where you have floods.
Absolutely.
So, but the severity of both droughts varied by region. In the 1885 to 87 shortfall, that they called that the Big Dry. And that was in the Pecos River region of far west Texas, while the 1890 to 94 was on the South Plains, and it was called the worst drought ever experienced before or since by a guy named Murdo McKenzie, manager of the Matador Ranch. Now, like Charles Goodnight, there was a guy named Henry Campbell, and he was a pioneer Texas cattleman who trailed his first herds himself. Those guys had to do the work too. They didn't just hire everybody to do it for them. But anyway, one of his investors, a guy named Benton in the Matador Land Company, they sold their Panhandle Ranch to a British syndicate that year because of problems. Campbell stayed on to manage it. But a drought in 1883 would cause problems for the smaller ranchers whose water supply had been cut off by the Matador Ranch.
Ooh.
And this is when...
Trouble in River City.
Yeah, and this is when pretty soon you had barbed wire making its entrance. And, let's face it, I mean, water was the critical thing.
Absolutely.
And if you had somebody that was cutting off your supply, you know.
Absolutely.
Anyway, regardless of drought's timing, the impact on cattle and the implications for ranchers were the same. Death for the former, bankruptcy for the latter. The first grass withered away. Then the streams and the water holes dried up. Next, the cattle would be in a weakened condition. They had to walk farther away from water to find grass before returning to find the water almost gone. So the cattle died either from thirst, starvation, or exhaustion. Now, a cow with a calf and weaning calves or steer yearlings and bulls, they died first. Dry cows and grown steers survived the best because, you know, they would.
Right.
Now, sometimes during drought, cowboys would actually kill the weaning calves so that their mothers could survive. Since their wombs were the wellspring of ranching prosperity, you wanted to keep the cow so you could have another calf crop. Well, on the Spur Ranch in 1892, the calf crop dropped 32%. That's a third. You know, from 1891, the crop of 11,000, a third of those died due to the drought. Now, the smaller ranches had even a harder time. There was one called the Borden County's MK Ranch, and it branded 6,000 calves in 1893, but only 160 calves a year later. Well, it bankrupted this small ranch, which was only a 25 square mile ranch, but to go from 6,000 calves one year to 160 the next year. Now, a gal by the name of Martha Jane Conway, she was a cattleman's wife living near the Spade Ranch, recalled the drought desperation of 1892, and here's what she said. There was but little grass for the cattle. We dug bear grass, and I don't know what that is, chopped up the roots and fed them to the cows.
Wow.
We also fed them prickly pear after burning off the stickers and cut limbs from hackberry trees and fed them to the cattle. I mean, this was desperate times. They were just finding anything to feed these cows to get them through.
Yeah.
So, but important as feed was, cattle could go days without grass, but not nearly that long. Well, obviously without water.
Right.
And during the hot summer months, the cattle consumed an average of about 15 gallons a day. So on the Spur Ranch, this translated into a daily need of 750,000 gallons for an average herd of 50,000.
Need a river.
Head. You do. I mean, even a pond would probably not survive. A guy by the name of John McCandless is among those ex-IT ranch cowboys, and a cowboy who later became he actually became a Texas Ranger and the sheriff of Dallam County. McCandless also led the ranch's last big cattle drive, the Texas Panhandle Ranch that at its peak employed 150 cowboys and herded 160,000 cattle. They had to abandon ranching to sell off some land as land prices rose and the drought got worse.
I could be wrong on this, and I'll stand corrected, but I believe that name McCandless was a name that was also adopted into a John Wayne movie. With the character John Wayne playing a rancher that had turned into a lawman.
Yeah, and it was in the Texas Panhandle when he was a Texas Ranger. So, you know, desperate for precipitation, the ranchers explored other options, some scientific and some not so scientific.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I'm going to tell you about that. Okay, a guy by the name of Fred Horsbrook, manager of the Spur, asked his bookkeeper, Mr. Fluke, to write, quote, Hester's weather forecast, okay, for a scientific assessment of rain probability, and he sent along a $3 subscription fee plus the ranch's latitude, longitude, and altitude. Now, Hester may refer to a New Orleans guy by the name of Henry G. Hester, whose reports documented rainfall in Texas and other areas. So kind of like a prognosticator, weatherman, something. Anyway, the reply came back that the horoscope showed no relief from present conditions for some time to come. The forecast proved correct, even if it wasn't scientific. Now, it doesn't take a genius to figure out that we haven't had rain for a long time, and you're probably not going to have any more.
Yeah.
Anyway, so forced with the reality of either moving the cows or letting them die, actually California ranchers during the 2014 drought, they actually loaded their heifers and steers into trucks and actually took them to Texas because they were having a drought in California.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So now, more scientific than horoscope, though, were the rain-making experiments that were partially funded by the federal government in Midland County in 1891, based on the fact that rain a lot of times followed major Civil War battles back east. The scientists figured out that concussions run rain from the clouds. The booming and the cannon would cause it to rain.
Really?
Yeah.
So, are these the same guys that carried those little wooden sticks and let them shake above the ground?
I don't know. And there's some stuff about that, too.
I bet there is.
But anyway, the weather people shot off cannons. They dynamited clouds on these rain-starved Midland County ranch, and with mixed results. And though some rain did fall, various accounts were kind of contradictory about how much. And even so, nothing proved a connection between the bombing and the cannons and any kind of ensuing rainfall. Well, the larger spreads relied on more conventional and less noisy methods of getting water. So first, and this is good, the ranchers dammed up some small creeks and draws to capture runoff in big tanks. Second, they drilled wells. They installed windmills to tap the underground aquifers. By 1900, for instance, the XIT Ranch had built 100 dams, installed 335 windmills, enough to provide water for more than 150,000 head of cattle. And the estimated cost to do that was $500,000, but they figured that was cheap compared to not being able to raise their cattle.
What year was that?
1900. It says by 1900.
But I was curious about what kind of equipment did they have for well drilling?
That's a good question. I don't know how they...
As compared to today.
Right. That's a good question. I don't know how they could have done that, without some kind of mechanical well drilling equipment. But anyway, now to deal with the grass shortage, the ranchers improved their range management, their techniques. They avoided overgrazing and provided cattle with supplemental feed, either grown by their own operations or by neighboring farmers. So moving into what we do now, Zeb. So in the end, although the 19th century droughts in West Texas and the Great Plains threatened ranching as an enterprise, they also ensured ranching survival by forcing these guys, because of the lack of rain, to do what they had to do. So even today, in spite of improved rangeland, water conservation techniques are in effect. West Texas and the Great Plains still face, it's a semi-arid climate.
Yep.
And again, it happened as recently as 2014-15. And when the drought of 1885-87 broke in San Angelo in April of 1887, the editor of the newspaper said, quote, "The sweetest strains of melody that have fallen on the ear of many a stockman in this country for many a day were caused by the patter of raindrops on Tuesday night."
Absolutely.
The bitter patter of rain.
Pitter patter.
Can you imagine just... and then he went on to say, it's going to rain some more.
Let me ask you quickly, and I've only got a minute left here. What about, what do they call those rods? Kind of a divining rod or something? Divining rod.
Yes.
Do you believe in that?
You know what? I do. And let me tell you something that happened years ago when I was just a kid. There were two brothers that went through the ice over here on the Snake River, ice skating. And there was the sheriff, and they were down there trying to find, unfortunately, the bodies. And a man drove up in his pickup and asked what you're doing. He says, well, we're trying to find these. And so he went back to his pickup and he got a hanger, a wire hanger. And he went out onto the ice with that divining rod, if you want to call it that, and he found the boys.
No kidding.
So
wow.
I think there is something to it, to finding water, with a divining rod, and I think there's some people that could actually do it.
We got to talk more about this.
That's an interesting topic. Yeah,
interesting. Find out about the well drilling.
That's a good idea. Cause surely they had something mechanical technique.
Had to.
Maybe with a steam engine type thing.
Could be.
Yeah.
Dr. History, you never let us down, except when you're not here. And God bless you for a very interesting story this morning. I appreciate that.
Thank you, Zeb.
And next week?
we'll see.
All right, buddy. Thank you, Dr. Istra. Hey, before he gets out of the studio, I've got to tell you about this real quick. Whether you're decorating your new home, updating your current home, or shopping for that special someone, Lee's is the place to shop for all your flooring and furniture needs. I'm talking about Lee's Furniture, Floors, and More at 459 Overland in Burley. Oh, they've got a big sale going on right now, and they're getting all the brand new recliners and sofas and love seats. Oh, my goodness. Don't forget they've got all your flooring, the best of carpet. They've got it all waiting for you, and everything is on sale at Lee's Furniture, Floors, and More at 459 Overland in Burley. And a quick note, too, about my friends with 7K Metals. Yes, you can help yourself build your financial security and future through silver purchases. I'm a believer, I'm a buyer. And you can create your security bank through silver purchases with 7K Metals. And it comes right to your home. It's a great saving opportunity for you and a valued treasure for your loved ones in the future. Please contact my friends, Lon Hardy at 312-8699 or Sharon Wilmot at 430-3259. And don't forget to ask them about 7K Metals. Be sure and tell them I told you to call 7K Metals. Right now, we're going to send it over to Wheels. I'll be back in about 3 minutes.
And now, back to Zeb at the Ranch on AM 1230 KBAR. To reach Zeb, call 436-2244 or toll free 1-866-927-4587. And now, here is Zeb Bell.
Oh, my. Hey, I want to remind you folks about my friends Curtis and Lorena over at Patterson's Electronics, 421 East Main. No, it's not East Main. 421 Main in Burley. There you go. Really, really wonderful people serving you with everything. Home theater systems, video, surveillance cameras, car stereos and speakers, complete sound systems, all your TVs. And I've got some new items to talk about that I don't even understand how they work. It's called the Pioneers NEX, or Networked Entertainment Experience line of receivers. They've got everything over there. And believe me, Curtis and Lorena can explain it far, far better than I can. So stop in and see the best. See the professionals when it comes to your electronic needs. Patterson's Electronics, 421 Main in Burley. The number to call is 678-6997. Right now, I get a chance to talk to an old friend that I have the utmost respect for, and he's been on this program many, many, many times, and he's a former representative for the state of Idaho and heavily involved in the water issues of our state. And I say good morning to Bert Stevenson. How are you?
Well, Zeb, I am. You're correct in one thing when you said old friend. So I understand that, and I'm glad they have you back from the south. I don't understand why you even went down there, Zeb. We haven't had a really tough winter yet.
Well, I went down for a couple of reasons. Number one, to heal up and get better, and number two, to enjoy myself and my wife on a little bit of a vacation to get away from everything. And I make no apologies. It was absolutely a blessing, and we appreciated it.
Hope you had a good time.
We did, sir. We did. Bert, my first question to you would be this. Where are we on water, which in regards to snowpack? Are we ahead, behind, in the middle? Where are we?
Well, Zeb, I'm glad that you give me an opportunity to talk about this for just a minute, because I think people need to be aware that we're just about on the 10-year average for the snow water equivalent. And the thing that is concerning to me is that the Boise drainage, the Big Wood, is low. It's about 72% of average. The Big Lost and the Little Wood are down as low as 59% of normal. And so those drainages is going to suffer a little bit. The Snake, we're about average, so we'll be probably okay, and the reservoirs are full. Our reservoirs now, Palisade is 95% full. American Falls is 91% full. Jackson's still down at the ice cap. it has ice restriction on it, and it's down at 74. But the whole system is 88% as of yesterday, and so that's where we're at on that.
Well, Bert, let me ask you, at 88% overall, that tells me, and tell me if I'm wrong, that tells me that we're really not out of a normalcy period, and there's nothing like the sky is falling with climate change or anything. We're in a normal, quote-unquote, water year, are we not?
Well, yeah, pretty, except those drainages that I mentioned. And we're gonna be fine as far as the everything on the Snake River above Milner at 88% this year. Depends on how it comes up. There isn't much snow left on the ground around here, and our mountains. If it stays really warm up into the 50s that they're talking about and 60s, there is a possibility that snow will come off fast, and then we won't be able to capture all of it.
Bert, what about, you and I've talked about this in the past, but do we, as living in southern Idaho and all of our farmers, do we have enough receiving areas for our moisture so that we can utilize it instead of just letting it go away?
We have for the most part. It depends on what the Bureau decides. If it looks like, and they won't make that decision here for another couple of weeks, it depends on what happens there as far as the drainage down for snow. If it comes off really fast, we probably will send some of it on past. However, we're doing pretty good with recharge. I shouldn't say pretty good. We put in 130,000 acre feet of recharge water in the below Milner here. That's over in Jerome and Hazelton area. So that's kind of where we're at on those water issues. If we have a year like we had in 2013, Zeb, it'll be questionable, because you remember that year it warmed up in the tail end of February, and then from then on it was hot and dry. Mm-hmm. And man, people was pumping water and using all kinds of water. If we get a year like that, our reservoirs will be pretty much drained by the end of the season.
Well, you've been involved in farming here all your life and a legislator. Are you concerned on a scale of 1 to 10 with our water situation the way it is right now? What are your concerns? Where are we at?
I'm not overly concerned right now for this area. The Wood River, in that area, they're going to run out of water probably in late July or early August. And that's not an unusual thing. It's an unfortunate thing. But the Wood River, the reservoirs is about 80% full, but that isn't a very big reservoir, so it'll drain pretty fast.
Well, what about the variables, though? I mean, here we're talking, this is Tuesday, February 25th, and you know as well as I do, Bert, the good Lord could change a lot of weather patterns, and we could have a lot more snow or a lot of rain before we start irrigation season.
Zeb, that would be an ideal situation. I guess some of it, Zeb, is do you want to believe the weather people? The long range forecast that's out for 30 days is that we're going to be drier than normal. The 10-day period is also drier than normal, and so if you believe the weatherman. And they're great people, but like you said, Heavenly Father can change that at his will, not theirs.
Absolutely. Let me ask you this. There's been, and every time you've been on the program, I think I've asked you the same question, but there's always updates that you can give us. Are there more groups, more entities, more states, and more politicians that are still trying to take more of our water?
There are. And let me talk to you just for a minute about, I got a letter, or a copy of a letter that was sent to Governor Brown from Oregon, Bullock from Montana, Isley from for Little from Idaho and Washington, and Governor Brown had sent out a letter saying that she was in favor of taking out the four lower snake dams, and we've got a problem. People want to save the orca and the salmon. Orca eats salmon, and I don't know how you save both of those, but there are people that's going to figure that out, I guess.
Well,
I've never eaten orcas, so I don't know whether they're good or bad.
Well, let me ask you though, Bert, when's it ever going to happen? When's it ever going to happen politically in this decade to where there's going to be respect for human beings? There's going to be respect for farming. There's going to be respect for trying to grow the produce that feeds the world and here in America. When is there going to be respect for that instead of always saving the salmon or saving the orcas?
Deb, I was encouraged here this week. There was a group of people that 15 of them. When I say a group of people, it's people for the Eugene Water and Electric Board, the Clearwater Power Company, Flathead Electric Cooperative, Idaho Falls Power. These are people that are concerned about wanting to take the dams out, and they're willing to sit down and talk to them. And so when you get 15 of those organizations, companies, now Vista was not on the list, Idaho Power wasn't on the list, and that doesn't particularly surprise me because I think most of this list are people that are the utilities people's organization. And they sent a letter to the governors of the 4 states, and one of the things that they want them to do is to take the time to study this issue, and the abundant harvest of fish originating in the Columbia River Basin are recorded. Mm-hmm. We don't know how many fish are out there in the ocean. We do know one thing, that it's the ocean conditions that's caused part of that. There isn't none of us that's going to change that ocean condition, and I don't care what the politicians say that they can or can't. I can promise them they can't, but I'm too young to know.
You know, I was recently reading in the Farm Bureau magazine, and I'm going to read the opening 2 paragraphs of the story, and I want you to relate to this. It said a recently released study concludes that transportation impacts related to breaching dams on the Columbia and Snake River system would cost the nation at least $2.3 billion with a B dollars, and it also found that removing the lower 4 dams on the Snake River to improve salmon runs, as some groups are proposing, would negatively impact environment and threaten the existence of at least 1,100 farms in Idaho, Washington, and Oregon. There again, there's no concern for human beings anymore.
Zeb, I've seen that. The transportation on the Columbia River there and the lower Snake gets that transportation up to Lewiston, the port of Lewiston. If you were to take all of those out of there, there's no way you're going to increase without putting another railroad in, and I don't think they're going to do that this stage of the game. But to take traffic up that river gorge to haul all of that produce that goes out by barge is never going to happen. And that's the reason we have to really, that's one of the big reasons for keeping it. The power generation is the other real reason, because that's the one that we have to buy all of the power companies have to buy all of this clean energy, the windmills and the other, but they don't run all the time, and so they have to have those.
Absolutely.
The overall amount of power that they generate for a year is no big, really huge thing like the Bonneville Dam and some of those others, but it is enough that it can keep our lights on.
Absolutely. Bert, we have a caller with a question or a comment. Caller, quickly, you're on the air. Go ahead, please.
Yeah, if you want to help save the salmon, how about putting a bounty on the seals across over on Idaho waters?
All right, we'll have Bert respond. Bert, it seems like in Wheels you've got to run the gain on that. We've got a little backlash here on the equipment. Bert, it seems like everybody wants to protect the fish, but yet the seals are having a heyday. They're having a Thanksgiving every day.
Right, and yet you have the state of Washington and Oregon wanting to get those listed as endangered critters, and they're having some success. And I don't know how you win that one.
Well, when you talk about electricity, and I want to emphasize this point a little bit more, the 4 dams that these enviros and greenies and those on the liberal left want to take out, they generate enough electricity to power over 800,000 homes. That's a huge figure, and there again, people don't care about human beings. 800,000 homes, Bert, that's a lot of power that would be eliminated.
That would be eliminated, and can you imagine Seattle going black because they didn't have enough electricity?
Well, you know,
and that's what's going to happen. We've seen it happen in the early 20s, 2020 or 2001 and 2, when they had a shortage of power, couldn't get it to California, and they were only about 3% short, but it was enough that turns the lights off.
Well, it seems to me that the left is so dumb, and I'm going to use that in very blatant terminology. They're so dumb, they want to eliminate the dams, and they want to eliminate the barge traffic, hauling the goods and services up to the coast, and then they also want to eliminate private transportation and cut back on the truck trade. How in the world are you going to get your crops to market, Bert?
Well, you're not, Deb, and those are markets that we depend on to keep our industry alive in the state of Idaho, and the state of Idaho, but in the whole western part of the United States. The amount of stuff that comes from the Dakotas over and is loaded on barges there at Lewiston, to go there and watch that is an amazing thing.
Well, it just, reading from that story in the Farm Bureau magazine, and I'll read this quote, and it said, the Columbia Snake System is the 3rd largest grain export gateway in the world. In the world, Bert, and these imbecilic people want to take this away?
Well, Zeb, we have a different mentality. We think we can't fish and have the system. That's, you know, in the 30s when they put those dams in there and into the 50s, they understood that there was some risk on this, but they needed the power.
Absolutely. We've got another call quickly. I'm almost out of time. Caller, you're on the air. Go ahead, please. Thank you.
Well, I've been studying this thing as hard as I can study, and nobody's got time to listen to me say it all. But I'll tell you what, again, I'm going to say it one more time. One barge, okay, of wheat, it takes 144 railroad cars, 357 semis. And you're like you just said, Zeb, they don't want you to use the semis down the highway, and they just don't know what they're going to do. And the cost of breaching the dams is insane, and the silt in the dams will foul the river for so long that they have no idea what the hell they're even talking about. Forgive me, but I'm so sick of hearing this. Last week, Friday, I spoke to Governor Little on the radio, and I told him, I said, this has got to end. This talk has got to end. Kate Brown and Jay Inslee, the governors of Washington and Oregon, are off their rocker. And if you don't think I'm right, study it. Those people are so influenced by environmental insanity that there is nothing practical. These people we would starve if we allowed them to get their way. I'll hang up.
And I appreciate your call, Randy. Bert, I've only got 2 minutes left. Quickly respond to our caller, if you would.
Well, Randy's 100% correct on what it would require if we take that barging out of the river. That's only the one phase of what we use that river for. There's other things, the fishing. The tribes is one of the things now that's started to agree that maybe they don't need to take out those dams, and that's a positive thing if we get the tribes on the side of credit. When you say, it worries me, Zeb, to no end to think of what will happen when if all of those on the Democratic side right now that are running for president get in there and with their new Green Deal, Katie, bar the door.
I couldn't agree more. Bert, you're always welcome on this program. I have the utmost respect for what you've done for this great state of Idaho and continue to do for the state on the water board. God bless you, my dear friend, and please come back soon.
Jeb, thanks for your friendship over the years. You don't know how much that means to me, and I do appreciate you as a friend.
God bless you, man. Thank you so much.
I had your wisdom.
Well, you've got more than I'll ever have. Thank you so much. Former Representative Bert Stevenson on our program right now this morning, and I thank him as we'll go to the weather forecast quickly, and it's brought to you by Scarrows Meats at 331 North Road, Jerome. The number to call, Don and the crew, 324-7657, or you can go to their website and see all the delicious meats at scarrowsmeats.com. We'll tell you more right after this good weather forecast from Gina.
Warming up as we make our way through the work week. Here's a look at your weather forecast. Sunny skies today, a little bit of a breeze out of the west at about 5 miles an hour. We are expecting a high of 40 tonight, mostly clear, cooling down to about 21. Tomorrow, lots of sunshine, high of 46 with an overnight low of 24. By Thursday, sunny and 51, mid-50s for Friday and for Saturday. That's a look at your weather forecast for Zebeth Reyes.
Wow, I love that forecast. Thank you very much. And it's brought to you by Scarrows Meats. Don't forget whether it's all the different bacons that they have, or the sausages, or the bratwurst, or the tri-tips, or all the pork ribs. Oh, my, it is tremendous. Great eating from Scarrows Meats at 331 North Road, Jerome. Again, that telephone number, 324-7657. They are changing the way we eat one delicious bite at a time. Wow, good to be back. It feels good to be back here in the saddle and riding for 3 hours right here on Zeb at the Ranch, and we thank you for all your phone calls, and I want to brag a little bit about our major sponsor, and that's, of course, your Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers. Yep. They are there to serve you, and serve is the key word. If you're a farmer out on the farm or the dairy and you've got a loader or a backhoe or a skid steer that's got flat tires, give them a call. They've got great farm service to you. Don't forget they've got all your tires for your passenger cars, SUVs, your pickups, your trailers, everything. And they all majored in tireology. They understand the best tires for your driving conditions. Stop in and see any one of the 7 locations today, and don't forget they've got the best in brake service, front end alignment, shocks and struts, and batteries. Lane and Rupert, Dave on Blue Lakes and Twin, Mike and Buell, Mike in Jerome, the Twist family in Paul, Daniel on Pole Line in Twin Falls, and Trent on Oberlin and Burley. The best, your Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers. Caller, I got 30 seconds, real fast, go.
Well, as you've been gone, there's been a lot of people were asking me when you were coming back, and they wanted you to come back. And so it's a good thing, because this program is important to southern Idaho, and yeah, it's nice to have you back. You know, we don't want to lose you any more than we want to lose Rush. And I don't know if they can transplant lungs, but we don't want to lose him either.
Absolutely.
Not that you were going to be lost.
Well,
were you down there on a vacation, or was it
It was health and related to a vacation. Both of them. I needed to get away. I feel so much better now. And as far as being lost is concerned, yes, I managed to accomplish that also. I put myself in a position with my lovely bride that we almost had to call for assistance, 911, because we didn't know where we were.
Well, yeah, I'm glad to have you back. You know, like I said, the program is important to southern Idaho, and thanks.
Well, I just want to tell you, Randy, how much I appreciate your call. And to the caller calling in right now, I'm just flat out of time. I've got to run to the news from CBS, but thank you all for your kind thoughts, all your emails, everything else. I appreciate it. God bless you. And we're going to wrap the program up by saying the way things were, the way things ought to be, and the 4 words that we mean the most when we say the end of the program: in God we trust. See you tomorrow morning at 8:06.